Love is but a song we sing, feels the way we die.
Tell people how they should treat each other. They build a wall to the nation. People that are coming here to do the work that nobody else will do. People that are coming here to provide for their families. These people that are coming here, across San Isidro, Tijuana to San Isidro, are suddenly forced to cross from the desert in this area and further east. So we asked the government, don't do it, don't build that wall. But they built the wall anyways. They said, we'll stop the flow. Unfortunately, they were wrong and we were right. Before Operation Gatekeeper started in October of 1993, we just had the 13th anniversary a couple of days ago, 1 or 2 people would die every month crossing the border. They would die getting hit by a car. You see how dangerous these roads are out here. They get hit by a car, they'd be jumped on the Mexican side or on the U.S. side by burglars, things like that. So 1 or 2 people would die every month. Since Operation Gatekeeper started in October of 1994, we estimate that 10,000 people have died. 10,000 people. 25,000 people are incapacitated. Right down the road here in Boulevard, Jose Luis Cisneros. Jose Luis Cisneros was drinking a Coca-Cola. You might remember this case. He was drinking a Coca-Cola when 3 American kids said, let's go kill a Mexican today. They went out and they found this man sitting by the restaurant just drinking a Coca-Cola. And they tried to beat him to death. They did beat him up pretty bad, but he didn't die. He survived, but he'll never work again. That's Jose Luis Cisneros. He's 50 years old. He looks like he's a lot older. I've taken him here to the United States to speak at Water at USD and other schools. And you should hear him talk. I'd be full of anger and I'm going to get those guys. With him, it's compassion and love, and I could learn a lot from Jose Luis Cisneros. But he's one of these 25,000 people that things like this have happened to. Or they're chased by the Border Patrol, the car flips over, and the people are paralyzed. Things like this. So these are people that don't die. We'll do some questions right at the end here. So these are things that happen on a regular basis. So the reason I say it's 10,000 deaths and not 4,500 deaths, like it says on the sheet that I have, and I'll make sure everybody gets a sheet, is because of Lucrecia Dominguez. Lucrecia Dominguez is another person that crossed. Lucrecia crossed for the number 2 reason that people cross. The number 1 reason is economic opportunity. They're coming here because they want to make more money or make some money. That's why they're coming here. Any money. The number 2 reason is family reunification. They already have a relative living here. Their brother lives here, their husband, something like that. In the case of Lucrecia, it was her husband. So Lucrecia crosses the desert with a smuggler and 2 of her 3 children. The 2 children are Jesus, 15 years old, and Nora, a 7-year-old little girl. 2 of her 3 children. The other child was an infant. She stayed back in Mexico. She crossed with a group of migrants. She had a group of about half this size, and there was a very unethical smuggler. Many of these smugglers are very unethical. So they go from Sonora, which is the southern state on the border, to Arizona. They cross. And as they cross, she's slowing the group down because of the fact that she's got these 2 little kids. So the smuggler says, you're slowing us down. We're going to leave you behind. And so, she doesn't have any choice. So she does get left behind. And she gets left behind, and as she gets left behind, she needs water. So she's asking people, her 2 kids, they don't have any water. There's just the 3 of them. So what happens, Lucrecia literally dies in the arms of Jesus, in the arms of her son, Jesus, 15-year-old little boy. And his sister is looking at this happen. Nora. I have a little sister named Nora. I cannot imagine my mom dying in my arms in the middle of nowhere and my sister right there watching me. So Lucrecia, she dies in the desert. The 2 little kids go wandering around. And thank God the Border Patrol finds them. Thank God, because otherwise they would have also died. So they get sent back to Mexico. They get deported right away. Why? Because their name is not Elian Gonzalez. If you're from Cuba and you touch U.S. soil, you get to stay. Remember Elian Gonzalez? Little Cuban boy, what happened in Florida? Well, these kids had relatives in the United States, but they didn't get to stay. They get sent back. So they get sent back, and Cesario, who's the father of Lucrecia, the grandfather of the 2 little kids, says, I want to marry my daughter in Mexico, not leave her in the desert in Arizona. So he contacts us and other groups. I want to find my daughter. It's very hard to find somebody when they're lost, when they're alive. All of you that have relatives that have Alzheimer's, or you see things in the news. Just imagine when they're dead, no response. So he goes out anyways with these human rights groups from Arizona, and he finds a body. And it's a woman, but it's not Lucrecia. And then he finds another woman, and then another woman. He finds 3 bodies. Can you imagine the horror of turning around these bodies and it's not your daughter? Just the whole process. And then he finally finds the body of his daughter Lucrecia, which he only recognized because of the ring on her finger. She's a skeleton by then. So if Cesario could find 3 bodies, how many bodies are out there? We estimate it's about 10,000. 10,000 people that have died since Operation Gatekeeper began in October of 1994. And these are real people that are crossing. And they're forced to cross because of the militarization of the border. Instead of crossing directly from Tijuana to San Diego, they cross out into the Imperial Valley. And after 9/11, now the majority are crossing in Arizona. That's where 52% of the deaths are now. Because you have the wall, you have the National Guard that was there for a long time, and you have something new that developed called the Minutemen movement in April of 2005, which has also caused death and destruction along the border and promoted hate everywhere, as you're familiar with. But these are also children that are crossing and dying, like Marco Antonio Villaseñor. He was a 5-year-old little boy, 5 years old. He crossed with his dad for the number one reason, economic opportunity. His dad had a job lined up. So he's with his dad, and he asks his dad for some water. He's thirsty, he wants some water. It's the number one reason they died, because of lack of water. And he decides to ask his dad, hey, I need some water. His dad doesn't answer him. So he asks the next man, and the next man, and the next man. He asked 18 men altogether. And neither of those 18 men responded, because all 18 men had died. And Marco Antonio Villaseñor, the 5-year-old boy, also died. He died in the back of a semi-truck in Victoria, Texas in 2003. Some of you might recall that incident. They just convicted the driver of that truck about 4 or 5 months ago. 19 people dying in Victoria, Texas in the back of a semi-truck. These are real stories. These are real stories of cases that have taken place. Along this road, not too far from here, there was a young lady named Victoria Sanchez, 17 years old. She was in the back of a car. What will happen, and I've seen this happen, the Highway Patrol and the Border Patrol, they say that their policy is not to chase. Then why in the world would these cars be going so fast, and it just so happens that there's a Border Patrol or Highway Patrol in the area, when they don't want to be detected? They're being chased. They're being chased. In this case, the car flipped over. And 2 women died instantaneously, including Victoria Sanchez, 17 years old. Another woman died, she was around 22 years old, and then another woman died a few days later from the accident. So there's people dying because of the chases by the Border Patrol, because of what's taking place when they're forced to cross in the desert, or what happens when they're crossing the line, the continued militarization of the border. I was just at the border about 3 days ago, in an area where there's migrants on the other side. The Border Patrol is aware I'm going to be there, so they usually send the unit. I'm just there to give them water and so forth. But you see the helicopters. You see the helicopter around here. They have the helicopters. They have the drones with nobody in it. They have sensors in the ground. So one of the guys was saying, hey, why don't I try to jump over right now? Because the area that I'm at is very easy to jump over. And I go, they're watching us. I go, there's cameras in those light posts over there. This is the area that I was in. I go, there's cameras right there. They're watching us. I go, besides the Border Patrol up on that hill, there's cameras there. And there's sensors in the ground. So sometimes people cross over not realizing that they've already been detected. And then it's like a cat and mouse game. These guys are running. Sometimes they fall down, they get hurt. People get shot. Guillermo Martinez Rodriguez was a man that had crossed for the number one reason, economic opportunity. December 30th of 2005. He crosses with his brother Agustin, but he hadn't crossed yet. Operation Gatekeeper in some places has 1 wall, in some places has 2 walls, in some places 3. In most places there's no walls. There's just the Border Patrol and the sensors and this type of militarization. Well, he's on top of the fence over by Colonia Libertad. He had already jumped over one fence. He's going to jump over the second and only fence that's there. And he realizes that the Border Patrol has already spotted him. So him and his brother decide, I'm going to head back to Tijuana. So they turn around and start running back to Tijuana. And as they turn around, Fausto Campos, a Border Patrol agent, takes out his gun and shoots him in the back. Guillermo Martinez Rodriguez died on December 31st of 2005, one day after he was shot. And he was trying to come into the United States because the day of the Epiphany was coming. It was a religious holiday, the 3 kings and so forth, and he was going to buy some gifts for his kids. And he gets shot and killed. So these 2 little kids, a 2-year-old and a few-month-old baby, are now orphans. This is happening every day. This is the militarization of the border, but the militarization of the border isn't only along the border.